The price of freedom is death. We're coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters. Welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I am your host, Afro Elite. And before we get started, please make sure that you guys hit that subscribe button and make sure that you guys hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any future content. I know I'm a little bit late, but we have newer information. I have more information. I just got it like a few minutes ago, so I wanted to make sure everything was already like loaded up and pulled up. So I'm making sure that everything's like retweeted and all that stuff, so everybody knows exactly where to go with this. Everybody knows that we're live right now, so if you guys can do me a favor, you guys can post this. You guys can hit that that button to make sure people know we're live and leave a like. Now, before we get started, I want to post this. Hold on. You guys can hit. Okay, my audio is good. Shout out to Torian. I was just watching his thing earlier today. Salute to Torian. I want to, and we also have a live tomorrow. We have not a live, a video tomorrow that we're going to be premiered tomorrow with our good sister Nicole from Nicole's View. So that's going to be very exciting. I want to send a special thank you to every single last one of you guys who have subscribed, liked, shared, watched all of this stuff. This month has been phenomenal. Okay. We've literally reached over 1,000 subscribers in less than a month. Okay, we're at 8,000 subscribers. This is the first broadcast video or anything since we reached that 800 mark. Okay, and now we're already at like 8,020 subscribers. Okay, so we've been making some very, very, very tremendous progress with this month alone. So that 10K easy. We'll definitely get that 10K. Also, shout out to everybody who was watching before the thing I did Friday, the ozone thing. Shout out to Tori and shout out to ZZ, shout out to Ken, shout out to Black Logic, shout out to Black Alpha, shout out to everybody who was a part of that. Definitely a good big shout out to Ozone, you know. So shout out to everybody who was a huge part of that. Shout out to everybody who donated and watched that. Thank you everyone for being a part of that. If you guys haven't seen it, it was so much fun. You guys definitely want to go check that out. All right. Now I'm going to move this. I got a lot of stuff pulled up. So we're going to be going through this kind of fast so this doesn't become like a 3-4 hour type thing. So we're going to be kind of going through this a little bit fast. So I'm going to speed up a little bit of the videos real fast to make sure everybody gets to see what we're seeing. But before we do that, you already know we cross our I's and we dot our T's here. So we're going to play this clip right here to protect the channel. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, so the very first thing that I want to show everybody is I want to show my Twitter page. And this is before any news conference or anything like that. The second it broke out, and some of the information was got out before the sheriff did his news reporting and all that, I saw resemblance to things that had happened prior. And I got both these two people. I got Peyton Gendron and I got Ryan Palmeter in the thumbnail for a reason, because I don't believe why is my thing freezing up? I don't necessarily believe that this was a cult. Okay, hold on. Okay. Okay, there it is. Because my Twitter is just freezing for some reason. Okay. Wow. Okay. That's fine. My Twitter's just not working anymore. That's fine. So I noticed I pointed out some of the commonalities between this situation and the previous situation. I'm going to take this off and I'm going to show you some things. All right. I blurred it out on purpose because they have manifesto and stuff like that. But this was the gun or the weapon of Ryan. This was Ryan's weapon. He has the gloves. Notice how he has the same blue kind of medical gloves you see in hospitals. They're the, I forget, those are the disposable medical gloves, or the gloves you use for like washing dishes and stuff like that. You see those in hospitals, you see those in dollar stores, you see those all the time. Those were the same type of gloves with almost the same type of gun that Kyle Rittenhouse was wearing. Now, if you look at the gun or the rifle, I'm going to say rifle coded. If you look at the rifle from Peyton Gendron, which I blurred out because I don't want anybody to say I'm promoting any of the manifesto. You look at that, almost the same exact type of gun. Look at both of the guns. Very similar types of guns. It's not like one is an AK-47 and another one is an M16. Both of these guns look very, very much the same. And the writing is almost the same, almost in the same places. Now, this is a more zoomed in thing so you can see. But even on the barrel of the gun, you can't see it now. I'm not going to show you now, but when you Google it, even on the barrel of the gun, both of them wrote the N-word, N-I-G-G, you know, the rest, on the part where you hold the gun with your left hand, the holster part of the gun. Both of them wrote the same things on the same parts of the gun. I found that to be very interesting, since the Twitter is just not going to let me pull up the list of things for whatever reason. It keeps saying retry. I can go on other people's pages, but I can't go on my page for whatever reason, but that's fine. We're not going to do too much with that. I noticed that the first thing is that, okay, these are both young males, young Caucasian males. They both went into stores. Now, this is before anybody knew that they had, that Ryan had went to a school first. They both went into stores. They both had a manifesto. They both deliberately targeted Black people specifically. They both had vests on. They were both known by law enforcement. Okay. Peyton Gendron was known to law enforcement as a problem. He had run-ins with the law. So did Ryan. Ryan and Peyton both had run-ins with the law. Almost the same thing matched. They're almost the same age. Okay. Ryan, who is this killer, he's only 21. Peyton was 18 years old. They're pretty much the same age. That's only like a 3-year difference between the two. I just noticed that those two things aren't so much in common. I mean, those two things wouldn't be so much in common if that was not orchestrated, if that was not planned. Now I'm going to pull up some clips actually that I have for the family to see. I really wish I could show you the Twitter stuff, but it's not allowing me to. But I'm not going to necessarily trip on that. And it was just a second. Okay, it was just a second ago. Okay. Anyway. Now this is, I got to click everything twice right now. This is the sheriff. This is the sheriff's first press conference where he first introduces, you know, the situation, what happened, all of that. I think the stream is being somewhat sabotaged, but I'm not going to say so right now, but I have to literally click every single thing twice. Now I sped it up. I'm going to break it down as we go along. And we're going to start right here.
Several manifestos, one to his parents, one to the media, and one of the federal agents. Portions of these manifestos detail the shooter's
Now,
disgusting.
I want to catch that part.
18 p.m., he texted his father and told his father to check his computer. At 1:53 p.m., the shooter's family members called the Clay County Sheriff's Office.
Hold on.
By that, a little after 1 p.m., so thank you all for joining us this evening. Tonight, I stand side by side with our law enforcement partners, our mayor, city leaders, to share the heartbreaking news that Jacksonville has suffered the loss of 3 precious lives at the hands of an active shooter. This afternoon, a little after 1 p.m., an individual we have not yet officially identified entered a Dollar Tree in the Newtown area of Jacksonville, outfitted with a tactical vest, armed with an AR-style rifle, and a handgun. Then the shooter killed 3 people before turning the gun on himself, taking his own life. Other than the 3 individuals killed and the shooter himself, there are no additional people who suffered gunshot wounds. We are not identifying the deceased victims at this time, but I can tell you that there are 2 male victims and 1 female victim. All of the deceased victims are Black. Multiple units from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office responded to this active shooter scene, as did members of Jacksonville Fire Rescue, our mayor, and city leaders. We are still in the very early stages of this investigation, so there's a lot of information that we don't know at this time. I will share with you the information that I've been able to verify. The shooter was believed to have resided in Clay County with his parents. He was involved in a 2016 domestic call in Clay County with no arrest. In 2017, he did have a Baker Act. We know that at 11:39 a.m. today, Sheriff Cook gave us information that he left Clay County, headed to Jacksonville. At 1:18 p.m., he texted his father and told his father to check his computer. At 1:53 p.m., the shooter's family members called the Clay County Sheriff's Office. By that time, he had already begun shooting in Jacksonville. The Clay County Sheriff's Office, who has been assisting our agency with this investigation, received information after the shooting that the shooter had authored several manifestos, one to his parents, one to the media, and one to federal agents. Portions of these manifestos detail the shooter's disgusting ideology of hate. Plainly put, this shooting was racially motivated, and he hated Black people. He wanted to kill niggers.
Now, okay, I'm pausing right there. What he said, now pay attention. The reason why I had it played all the way back there is because I wanted you to get the date, the timestamp of which he said this. This was his first press conference since the incident. At this time, they have not released the name. Now, keep in mind, his name did not get out to the public. There were people searching every single crevice for every single thing they could find. They did not release his name until several hours after the incident. This stuff happened around, in Florida time, this stuff happened pretty much around 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. It took them about a good 5.5 around that time. It took them around 5-something hours for them to release his name. Now, what's interesting about this is that they tell you, oh, after the situation, we found out that he had a manifesto that he sent to his parents, that he sent to the media, and that he sent to the federal government. Now, what's very interesting about that is they knew to tell him that, or to tell the sheriff that. Let's say the sheriff had no idea. They only told the sheriff that right after the incident. They didn't tell the sheriff that beforehand. Why did they not tell the sheriff that beforehand? That means that he had sent the manifesto out, assuming, and because some people don't know, and I don't know, I can't make any crazy assumptions, but since we don't 100% know, let's just assume that all of the manifestos are the same manifesto. It's just one copy of multiple different manifestos, right? He sent a copy to the media and he sent it to law enforcement, and nothing happened beforehand. He had to send this to them a while beforehand. It's not like he did this act and then as soon as he was done, the mailman came and gave them the manifesto. So that means they had to have the manifesto early. So nobody was doing anything with the manifesto that they knew he had. So I wanted to play that part. Now we're going to play a little bit more of this. We don't necessarily have to play the whole thing.
That's one and only time I'll use that word.
Now I'm going to skip.
Taken by this cowardly shooter's personal ideology of hate. Homicide detectives are actively investigating this tragedy, and despite the fact that the shooter is dead, they will continue to investigate this until we have a complete understanding of what happened and even why he did it. Our Jacksonville community collectively cries tonight. To the victims and victims' families, our thoughts and prayers are with you now and will remain with you. Please know that in the face of this tragedy, this agency and our city stands with you. We stand united and resolved in our commitment to accountability. We stand united with each other. Those who have personally suffered loss and those who have been touched by this tragedy, we are with you. We stand united and resolved against all forms of hate. And at this time, I'll take any questions that I can.
Sheriff Waters, does the sheriff's office consider this a mass shooting, and why or why not?
Yes, it's a mass shooting. It's an active shooting, whatever you want to label it. It's a shooting that should not have happened under any circumstances. I don't think names of the shooting really matter. What matters is 3 people lost their life today.
Sheriff, there are reports that the suspect may have been seen on Everett University at first and then make his way down the road.
Now, you can't really hear the reporters that well. Somebody's asking in the chat room. First off, thank you very much. I'm gonna pause this real fast. Thank you very much. The fundraiser for the $2 super chat. He says, have you heard about the UNC Chapel Hill shooting? Yeah, I did. I heard about that right before. I was kind of looking into that to see if they were linked up. That's what took me kind of so long, because I'm like, is there a connection? Because this is like right back to back to back. I'm not saying it is or it isn't, but I haven't found any connection yet. You know what I'm saying? Because I just found out about it. But yeah, I did. And thank you very much for super chat. All right. Getting back to it. Now, the reporter asked him, did you hear about him going to the school? Because he went to a HBCU beforehand. Now, this is the very first press conference since the incident. They have not released his name or anything. And I played it back from the very beginning of what he said, when it happened, all the dates, all the times. The sheriff completely skipped the whole situation with the HBCU. The sheriff did not mention the HBCU one time. Then the reporter brought up, the HBCU. There was reports that he went to the HBCU. So this is what the sheriff had to say about it.
I can't tell you what his mindset was while he was there, but he did go there. And he did put his vest on and a mask on, and then went directly to Dollar General.
So he says, I can't tell you what this, pay very close attention, because some of these things aren't adding up. And we're going to get real deep with this. I'm pausing it so frequently because I sped it up a lot, because there's some other clips I want to play. He says the sheriff did not bring up the HBCU fact at all, despite the fact that Paul Metter went to the HBCU first. Then he says, when he brought it up, he kind of just mentions it in passing. Oh yeah, I don't know what happened. Then he goes on to say, he went to the this man was a super bad anti-black racist, okay? He was an anti-black suspect, and so you know, since we have to be more codified with certain things, especially right now, because they're flagging people's channels, I'm going to refer to this is going to be some of the coded language that we use, the abbreviations. So when I say anti-black racism, which is just really another analogy for white supremacy, you know what I'm saying? I'm just going to say ABR because that gets flagged less, or anti-black supremacist, you already know. So that's an ABS. So don't think I'm saying automatic brake system. I'm not. ABS is a supremacist, an anti-black racist, a terrorist, all that. So we have that understanding. So I don't have to bring it up again. I'm showing you guys right here. All right. So he's already admitted to being ABS, right? He's already admitted that. He goes to an HBCU. This is according to the sheriff. He gives the whole chronological time. He skips the HBCU. Then when the reporter asks about the HBCU, he's like, oh, yeah. Kind of like, oh, yeah, I forgot about it. It's so irrelevant. He went to the HBCU to get dressed to go to the dollar store. But that's very interesting because when you see this clip right here, you can see, hold on, let me pull it up. Oh damn. I can't even pull this up. I can't pull the clip up. I'm gonna pull this up actually. This is a statement from the actual HBCU. It says, today, an on-campus Edward Waters University EWU security officer engaged in an unidentified male at the facility at boy, the font is a little bit small. The individual refused to identify themselves and was asked to leave. The individual returned to the car and left campus without incident. The encounter was reported to Jacksonville Sheriff's Office by EWU security. It was later determined that the individual would have been involved in a shooting near EWU campus. Campus safety and security placed the university on lockdown and restricted access to deport / arrive on campus. So essentially, that's what happened. Essentially, what the security is saying is that he pulled up, but the security came immediately afterwards and told him he had to leave and shooed him off. And then, and we're gonna have clips for this later. I just want you to remember everything, because I don't think that people are being honest. And why I'm bringing this up, and how does this tie in to Peyton Gendron? How does this all? Thank you very much, Daryl, for the Cash App. I appreciate that. How does this all tie up? How does this all tie up? Because remember, when Peyton Gendron, when he did what he did, the media immediately said, oh, he was a lone wolf. He had no friends. Nobody liked him. Nobody even knew him. You know what I'm saying? He was just this 18-year-old weird lone wolf that nobody knew, and he got all these guns. We don't know how. But then later on, you found he was a part of some type of online little anti-black group, like some type of Reddit type of group or something like that, similar to how Dylan Roof was. They said Dylan Roof was a lone wolf and he acted alone and it wasn't a part of any other society or plot or anything like that. Then when they got his laptop, they saw that he was on the dark web messaging a whole bunch of people about his hatred for black people. The same way you saw with Peyton Gendron. And, I guess on my eye. And you, oh man. And you saw that Peyton Gendron actually was helped by an ex-member of law enforcement. He had some sort of tie to law enforcement. That was almost evident in the manifesto himself, where he was saying what bulletproof vest you need to get, what type of rifle you need to get, all of these instructions that he was given. So that's why I'm tying all of these things together. I'm going to give you my personal opinion before we keep going. I believe that the manifesto, and we're really going to read into what some of the articles say. I believe the manifesto implicates the fact that Ryan was not working by himself, that Ryan was similar to how Dylan Roof and similar to how Peyton Gendron was. Ryan was working with some type of online radical group of anti-black racists. That's who Ryan was working with. He was working with a group of ABS. He was working with them, and they all developed this manifesto. And that's why they don't want to show the manifesto to anybody else, because they don't want to get out to the public like there is some type of underground society of racists ready to pop out with all of these sleeper agents. And I also believe that within this underground society, or even if you wouldn't even call it underground necessarily, but within this like sleeper agent society also is ties with law enforcement. That's what I personally believe. But let's look into this. All right. We're going to look into it a little bit more. So because we don't want to just jump into conclusions. We don't really want to do that.
Sheriff, did Edward Waters University catch the incident on
that's still part of our investigative process.
How does the community address everything?
Now they're asking like, okay, how do you heal? How do we all heal? Okay, all right. We're not really talking about that. That's not really what we're talking about. So I'm going to pull up this article real quick from CNN, and we're going to remember looking to the facts. We remember pay very close attention to the times that they're going to refer to things, how things went down. All right. So they're saying, okay, yeah, the Jacksonville, he was motivated by that. We're going to speed through a lot of this stuff because a lot of this stuff we already know. Now, it says a white gunman who killed 3 black people in a racially motivated attack at Dollar General store in Jacksonville, Florida on Saturday legally purchased 2 firearms he used in a shooting earlier this year. Jacksonville Sheriff T.K. Waters said in the news conference Sunday. The gunman, identified as 21-year-old Ryan Christopher Palmetto, bought a handgun in April and an AR-15 style rifle in June, the sheriff said. He lived with his parents in nearby Orange Park and had no criminal arrest history, although he had been temporarily involuntarily held under the Baker Act in 2017, the sheriff said. Now, what's interesting about the Baker Act is that means that his guardians, his supervisors, his parents said that he was under so much, that he had so many bad mental problems that he was a danger to himself and he was a danger to other people. So the Baker Act that his parents had to put him on was for 24 hours. So they believed that their son was crazy in 2017. Just keep that in mind. In 2017, he was put under the Baker Act, right? Now, it keeps going on to say, because the sheriff's not going to make these connections, but we are here to make these connections. So it goes on to say, in this situation, there is nothing illegal about him owning the firearms, he said. The news conference came a day after Palmetto fatally shot 3 black people at the Dollar General store in what authorities say was an anti-black hate crime. Attorney General Merrick Garland, my bad, said the Justice Department is investigating the shooting as a hate crime and an act of racially motivated violent extremism. The gunman used racial slurs, left behind a racist skewed and drew swastikas on his firearms, authorities said. He was armed with an AR-15 style rifle and a handgun and was wearing a tactical vest and blue latex gloves, the sheriff said. The same type of blue latex gloves that Kyle Rittenhouse was wearing. Now, they're not going to make that connection. They're not going to make, and notice how Kyle Rittenhouse, 18, Peyton Gendron, 18, he's only 21 years old. He was only 21 years old. Okay. These are very young white men who's doing this. So when people say things like, well, racism is dying, racism is fading away, it's not as bad as it was before. It is. It very much so is. What they like to do is they like to water it down and make it seem like racism is only, you can only find a redneck hillbilly or something like that. Like, I don't like your niggers. They make it seem like it's either that or it's some old delusional man who's lost his memory in a damn retirement home. But no, these are young white men who don't have any history of mental illness or I'm not going to say they're not insane. They're not clinically insane. They're sound-minded, as sound-minded as a ABS can be. But anyway, it says the victims were identified as Angela Michelle Carr, 52. It says Jared Galen, 29, Anelt Joseph, where they call him AJ Lagar Jr., 19. Now, I think they got the numbers mixed up here. I believe that the lady, Miss Carr, was 19 years old. But regardless, my hearts go out to the families. My dearest condolences. They don't deserve that. That was absolutely terrible what had happened to them. Their families absolutely deserve justice. I hate the fact that this person deleted himself, so the families will kind of be left with this void of not feeling like justice was served. But it's good that he's not alive and among the living anymore. I can say that. But my family, my heart goes out to the family. All right. But we're going to continue. It says, Sabrina Roser, a relative of Galland, that's one of the people who, one of the victims, described him as fun-loving young man. He left behind a 4-year-old daughter. That's just, man, that's tough. It says, Roser told CNN, it's hurtful. I thought come on, y'all. It's hurtful. I thought racism was behind us, and evidently it's not, she said Sunday at the vigil for the victims. I mean, I'm not going to beat up on the family. I'm really not going to beat up on the family, but we really do got to get past this. I thought racism was behind us. I'm so surprised. How could this still even happen? Ma'am. And I swear to God, I'm not, because they're grieving. I give grieving families a pass, but let's be honest. There was a shooting just like this. There was an attack just like this last year at Buffalo, New York. So what are you talking about? I thought racism was behind us. What? Okay. All right. Let's not beat up on the family, y'all, but okay. Then it says, Legrier, I believe is how it's pronounced, was an employee at the dollar store, the company said in a statement, adding it was sending its condolences to the family and loved ones of the 2 customers who were killed in that senseless violence. There is no place for hate at Dollar General or in the communities we serve, the company said. Right now, we are focused on providing support, concealing and resources to our team and the loved ones, and we are and we are evaluating how we can best support and stand with the greater Jacksonville community during this sad and difficult time. Prior to the shooting, the gunman had been turned away from campus. Now, this is something, now I played for you the first report. This is something that the police did not mention. Prior to the shooting, the gunman had been turned away from the campus of a nearby historically Black university, Edward Waters University, where he refused to identify himself to an on-campus security officer and was asked to leave, the university stated in a news release. Now, that is not the same story that the sheriff said. The sheriff did not say that. The sheriff made it seem like, yeah, he just stopped by to put his vest on and he just drove off. Now, what the security office is saying, he stopped by, he got out, he was putting on his vest, he was getting armed, and then they told him he had to leave. Now, he could have popped off right there, but his mentality is that he wanted maximum casualties. He wanted absolute maximum casualties. So why he was not going to get into a gunfight right there. To do this, try to zoom in as much as possible so you guys can see it with me. Then it says, the individual returned to their car and left campus without incident. The encounter was reported to the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office by EWU Security, the school said. The shooting came 5 years to the day of the mass shooting in downtown Jacksonville at a Madden video game tournament. The attack also coincided with the commemoration of the 60th anniversary of March on Washington, the iconic civil rights demonstration that called on the government to better protect the rights of Black people. The attack was one of several shootings reported in the U. Now, this is kind of, we're gonna kind of skip past this part because this is not what's relevant. This is what's relevant. Sheriff outlined timeline of events. Okay, so I'm gonna pull this back a little bit. This is where the college was. Remember, this is where the college was. This is the Dollar General. Just remember this, okay? It is a straight road. It is literally a straight road. It's a few blocks down. You can get into your car and be there within 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, just keep that in mind. It says Sheriff Walters, I believe is Waters, provided a minute-by-minute timeline of the attack on Saturday. The shooter left his home in Clayton County around 11:39 a.m. Now, to be honest, I don't know how they know when he left his home. I'll assume that they are using kind of like street cameras and something like that. I assume they're using that. I don't know how they know when he left his home and headed to Jacksonville and neighboring Duval County, Waters told CNN. At 12:48 p.m., the suspect headed down Newtown, a predominantly black area of Jacksonville, and stopped at Edward Waters University in a gray Honda. Donning a bulletproof vest, the sheriff said a TikTok video was also taken around this time showing him getting dressed. All right, if you guys have seen that video, y'all saw that, he did have a video or there was a TikTok of being made of him as he was getting dressed. So that's, we have that. Now getting back to it. Now look at the time. It says right here, pay very close. Remember this time. He left his home and it took him about an hour, they're saying, to get to the black neighborhood, because this is like an hour and 10 minutes to get to the black neighborhood. Okay, this is the time they're saying he was at the college. Okay, 12:48 p.m. is the time they're saying he was at the college. Okay, the university police backed into the parking lot in the same spot as the suspect, and the suspect left at 12:58. Okay, so they're saying, I guess he got there and it took them almost 10 minutes for them to get there. If he got there at this time, let's say he got there a couple minutes later, it took him like about 7 minutes. All right, they're a little slow, but okay, that's what the sheriff said. The university police followed him out of the lot and flagged down. They didn't just tell him to leave. They followed him out the lot and they flagged down the sheriff's office saying that there was a suspicious person on campus, the sheriff said. Okay. At 1:08 at the Dollar General parking lot, the gunman shot into a black Kia and killed Carr. Rest in peace to our sister Carr, the sheriff said. And then he entered the store and fatally shot Laguerre, the sheriff said. Others fled out the rear exit of the store, and the suspect entered the same door before returning inside. So what they're saying is that he was chasing people. They were running out. He was coming in. They were running out. He was coming in. He was chasing people to try to get as many bodies as he could. The gunman then fatally shot Gellin, who had just walked into the store, and chased after and shot at Gellin's fleeing girlfriend, the sheriff said. Okay, so he was running in and running out, running in and running out. Now, they said he was flagged down. Look at the times. He was flagged down about this time. This is when he entered the parking lot. This is the time he had entered the parking lot. All right. And this is the time he texts his dad. At 1:18 p.m., the gunman texted his father and told him to go into his room, where his father found a will and a suicide note, the sheriff said. Officers entered the store a minute later, quote, 11 minutes. This is 11 minutes from the start of the shooting, and heard one gunshot, which was presumed to be when the gunman shot and killed himself, the sheriff said. The suspect's father called Clayton Sheriff's Office at 1:53 p.m., the sheriff said. So he texts him, and now let's say he didn't get the text or whatever, but that's a pretty big gap between him calling the police. He called the police. It almost took him 40 minutes? It took him 40 minutes between him getting the text and then him calling the police. All right. Then it says the attack clearly targeted black people. Walder said the suspect used racial slurs and left behind writings to his parents, the media, and federal government outlining his disgusting ideology of hate, the sheriff told reporters. This shooting was racially motivated and he hated black people, Walder said on Saturday. Authorities also played two short video clips of the shooting. One clip shows the shooter pointing his weapon at the black Kia car outside the store. The other shows the shooter walking into the store and pointing his rifle to his right. Quote, I wanted the people to be able to see what happened in this situation and just how sickening it is, Walter said. The shooter did not appear to know the victims and is believed he acted alone. Okay, he said. Now, and then it goes to say this is a dark day in Jacksonville. Okay. Now, this is it. Now, here's something very interesting. Remember up here where they said, and this is why I read this whole thing up into here, and this is why I didn't make this connection, because I wanted you guys to see what I saw. Remember when he said he left a suicide note? He said he left a suicide note, right? This is his picture. This is a picture he took. He took both these pictures. Okay? You can see right here, when you zoom in a little bit, right here, this is the gun. This is the glove, I mean. This is the paper that matches this paper. He took both these pictures prior to leaving his house. How did the police get a hold of these pictures? They didn't bring the rifle back to the house with the gloves and put it on the table and take a picture. They didn't do that at all. How did you guys get this picture? I doubt he saved it on his phone for memorabilia or anything like that, because there would be no reason to do that. I want you guys to really, really follow me. There would be no reason for him to save this on his phone if he left a suicide note, because he planned on offing himself anyway. So what would it matter for him to leave this on his phone? So y'all follow me with this. Actually, let me like really connect with you guys real quick. I'm gonna just look at this. Okay. He took this picture. This looks like it's maybe a garage or something, because he got a microwave right in front. He took this picture and he either had to post it somewhere or he sent it to somebody. This is like the flex before the outfit. Like you know you're going out to a party or something like that, and you look in the mirror and you're all like, y'all, check out my shoes, check out my fit, and you take a picture prior to leaving. This was like his before the party picture. And he had to send this to somebody else who had known he was going to do this. This is him sending this to some type of group chat or some type of person who was involved in this whole thing, because it doesn't make sense for him to take this picture and leave it on his phone if he was going to commit suicide. That doesn't make sense. This was the, hey guys, this is it moment. This picture right here was, guys, this is the day, this is the moment. He sent this picture to he didn't send it to his dad, because there's no reports that he sent any picture to his dad. He only texts his dad to go in his room. This is the weapon he had at the time. So how did the police get a hold of this picture? Okay, if they did, he sent it to somebody. So whoever he sent it to or whoever he posted it to kind of shows that this person was not acting alone. And the reason why I'm making this connection to Peyton Gendron is because that's the same exact thing that Peyton Gendron did. Now, this guy, he didn't live stream it on Twitch the way Peyton did. But remember, Peyton took a picture. He took a couple of pictures of himself just the same way Ryan did. He took a couple of pictures and he posted it to his little group chat on Reddit, or was it Discord or whatever. He posted it saying, guys, today is the day. I'm doing it today, guys. And with the same type of energy, Ryan did the same thing. I don't think these two things are a coincidence. I don't think that these two things are a coincidence. It doesn't make sense for him to post this and not have anybody and nobody knows about it. Now, what's very interesting, we're going to get this off here for a second, is that, remember, it took them like 5 hours for the police and the media, who knew ahead of time who he was because they had his manifesto. Everybody knew who he was, but just like with Daniel Penny, everybody had this code of silence. Everybody was on a gag order until several hours later, and then they released his name. But by the time they released his name, pretty much all of his social media, there's not a single trace of his social media except one little Twitter account that he made in 2017. He only posted on it one time and has never touched it again. All of his other social media scrubbed completely off the internet. Their parents deleted their whole social media. Both their Facebook pages are deleted. All their family's things are private. So it seems like the time that they spent stalling the public, telling people, oh, well, we can't confirm his name, despite the fact that everybody knew his name. Remember, they said they been had a manifesto. When they been had identification of his name, they been knew his name, and they took several hours to post his name. And by the time they released his name, the second, of course, in a situation like this, the second somebody released their name, everybody's going to go on the internet and see what they can find about this guy. And by the time they released his name, folks go onto the internet and there's nothing about this guy anymore. He's been completely scrubbed from the internet, except a little Twitter thing, which doesn't implicate him at all. Everything about him has been scrubbed completely from the internet. So they can say, hey, well, I'm sorry, I don't know, guys, but all we do know is that he acted completely alone. That's the only thing we know. I want to know where he sent this to. I want to know who is in this group. I want to know that. Now, shout out to, I'm going to put this up here, right? Let me find this other clip, because that's kind of what I wanted to show you with the article. Then it's going to kind of, we're going to go into other things. But before we do that, let me pull this up. So much stuff. I hate the fact you got to close everything down. Let me pull this up from our brother, Black Alpha. Black Alpha was there that night. Black Alpha was actually there on the scene. Salute to Black Alpha. He was there on the scene, and he's going to show us exactly like what he's.
All right, family, back here once again. As you can tell, I'm on the opposite side of the road right now, to where you can see they moved the tape from there to now it's over here. So they're pushing it back further and further. But we are right here on Kings Road. I want to give everybody a good look. The Dollar General, where this massacre, this anti-black massacre occurred, was right over here. This is where our brothers and sisters' lives were taken from them by a confirmed supremacist. And as I told everybody, we are right here on Kings Road. So everybody, y'all stay good. Y'all stay safe out there. And we're going to make sure we get to the real truth and the real facts. All right, family, back here once again. I want to let the whole family know that the reports that are coming out right now are very, very sketchy. But a lot of brothers and sisters out here on the streets are telling a whole different story. And this doesn't really seem to be some typical lone wolf. We see that this person had multiple run-ins with the police, so it's obvious that he was on the radar. Yeah.
I'm with the ATF. I'm just trying to get this underway, etc.
Right here, you have meetings right here with the police. The ATF is out here, as we report right here. So I'm just letting everybody know, brothers and sisters, that it's going down out here. And we out here, Foundational Black Americans, we real heavy out here. We got a lot of that real B1 power, that certified power. So we just trying to hold it down and make sure everything is good, make sure everything is, taken care of. We on the same page, and we're going to make sure that the real stories come out and everything's found out to be. I want to let the whole family know that the reports that are coming out right now are very, very sketchy. But a lot of brothers and sisters out here on the streets are telling a whole different story. And this doesn't really seem
at the time handling his business. Hold on. Let me pause this real fast. Okay. So they keep saying he was a lone wolf. They had no idea. They scrubbed, and this is how you know they didn't look into it that well, because remember, he was on a Baker Act in 2017. He had the police called on him in 2019. Now I want to show you this real fast. I was doing so much digging into I was looking up every single, and this is how you know the police gave them a huge head start. I was looking up every single member of the family, everybody's account in the family pretty much deleted. That means the whole, not just the parents, the whole family got the head up. Hey, delete all your social media. There's the only picture you have with Ryan is his selfie that he took for his Twitter page. They don't have any sort of pictures or anything like that. Like, this man almost did not exist. You could barely find the fact that this guy ever existed. So I found this out, and this is his older brother. These are tweets from his older brother, or Facebook posts, from his older brother. I'm racist, problem. Okay. Problem, question mark. He says, Black people, do I have your permission to use the word nigga? I'll use it regardless, but whatever. Oh, 29 comments. Okay, we're going to get into the comments a little bit later. All right. I turn my TV on, and this is what I hear. Sup, niggas. This is what was actually said. Sam Niggle. It was a heartburn commercial. Okay. And it continues to say, people, really, mainly Black people, and means and, or this symbol that in this means and, not in. There's not a single Black person that thinks that this symbol right here means in, but he's calling Black people. Okay, these little jokes. All right, but let's check this out. Those weren't the only jokes. There's more. There's more if you guys haven't seen that. Saying, watching Planet of the Yard Apes. Then another one, you see there's two comments here. Is yard ape another word for Black guy? Correct. So in this post right here, he's referring to Black people as yard apes. Okay. Now, remember with the whole N-word comment, this is what happened. This ABS we have, or suspected supremacist we have here, says, haha, it's not like they invented it. They're referring to the N-word. Then he says, true. Call me a hunky all you want. Nigger is the actual offensive word. LOL, seriously. Hunky equals slave owner. Cracker equals slave whipper. Nigger equals dumb degenerate. Rudy Poo looks like I win here. Okay. Then he says, roses are red, violets are blue, criminals are Black, not racist, just true. Okay. So this is his older brother. This is the older brother that he got into some type of altercation with in 2016 which had his parents call the cops. Yeah, this is in 2011. Now, what's interesting is that in 2017, his brother was arrested for armed robbery, and his brother didn't get out, or at least his brother didn't make a single post, because his brother tried to clean up his image. He was wearing suits and all that stuff. So his brother stopped posting a whole bunch of racist stuff. All right. Now, a lot of this stuff, yeah, I had to do some digging. And the reason why this is so old, because damn near the whole family got on code, and the whole family deleted all of their social media. This is the only bit of anything from the family that you can tell. And it's very significant because this was his only brother. Now, I found this out very interesting. Hold on for 1 second. Now, I already played the copyright thing, so I don't need to play that again. But listen to this. If I unmute it. Let me unmute this.
Criminal history before he killed 3 people yesterday, but he had been involved. And now Tracy Walder, News Nation contributor and former CIA officer and FBI special agent. Tracy, I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, Natasha.
So, Tracy, we're just talking about this. The shooter had no criminal history before he killed 3 people yesterday, but he had been involuntarily detained for mental health reasons. Help us understand how he still was able to legally obtain firearms.
Well, I'm not certain it was how he obtained them, whether it was legal or not, but my best guess is he's 21 years old right now. When the Baker Act, which is what was used to involuntarily commit him, was used, he was most likely a minor, since that was done in 2017, making him, 15 or 16 years old. I do not know the depth of a background check that would have been done on him if he had obtained them legally. And if they hadn't gone into his juvenile records, they most likely would not have seen that. Now, if this had happened when he was an adult, then yes, that would have precluded him from buying a weapon. So it's unclear to me how far back they went, because typically juvenile records are sealed.
Okay, and we have heard that report that there were racist drawings on the guns, a swastika drawn with a pen. How common is...
Now, mind you, if he was black and he was on a Baker Act, even when even if he was 15 years old, even if he was a minor, no matter what, if he was black, they would have been like, okay, well, now you're going to be charged. We're going to watch you like an adult. Remember Peyton Gendron? Peyton Gendron was on a watch list by the police, and they let him slide because when he became an adult, they all like, you know what? Clean slate. The same thing they did with, and that's why I'm saying these two things are almost too close to be completely separate. The same thing they did with Peyton Gendron, and they said, well, when you're an adult, clean slate, that they don't ever do with black people. You don't ever get a clean slate. You can go to jail. You can do your time. You could be a kid. It could be an accident. Don't matter. You don't get a clean slate as a black person. Okay, this person had his parents put this Baker Act on him, and he was able to get not 1 but 2 firearms the second he became an adult, essentially. All right. Now, my thing is, he sent them. Now, mind you, he sent the manifesto to the FBI and to the media. Were they not going to take his guns away? Were they not going to take his guns away? Let's continue.
Something like this in racially motivated attacks in particular. Have you seen this before? And from a legal standpoint, how much weight does it add to the claim that this was a hate crime?
Well, I think it adds a tremendous amount of weight to the fact that this was a hate crime. I mean, we have to be careful, because being a white supremacist is not a mental illness. it's a crime, period. The end. You cannot engage in this type of targeted behavior. There's a fine line between free speech and hate speech. And I would imagine his manifesto also will weigh very, very heavily, although I haven't seen it. But in terms of his motivating factors for doing this, I think it will become very clear in terms of who he targeted, the sites that he visited, the imagery that was on his gun, as well as the manifesto, that this will be investigated as a targeted hate crime.
Yeah, and the suspect does appear to have targeted his victims because of their race. And you told our team that this reminded you of an investigation that you were a part of. Can you speak to that?
Sure. My actually very last arrest as an FBI agent in Southern California, it was an individual who was engaging in behavior that was similar. He had gone to a college that had a large presence of historically Black sororities on them, and was leaving nooses in their mailboxes, as well as on their doorsteps. And he was also threatening to kill them online. We then obviously went with the warrant to his home. He was also about 19, 20 years old, so very similar in age. But the thing that was very surprising to me is he too was also living with his parents. And it was a seemingly, I guess we can say, normal looking home. But once we went into his room, which he also always kept the door locked, and this was the case in this particular case as well, the amount of Nazi paraphernalia that was all over his room, covering the walls, covering the ceiling, covering the doors, was very, very shocking to me. And it was very surprising that someone living under a seemingly normal roof was engaging in this kind of behavior.
In your view, in this case, were there enough warning signs that someone, either law enforcement or his family members, should have expected him to?
Oh boy. Oh my God. I clicked another link. That's not what I meant to do. I didn't think that was going to pop up. Lord have mercy. Okay, let me just remove that. I did not expect that to pop. As second I tried to pause it, that thing popped up. Pay very, very close attention. Remember what she was talking about as far as the other young person who was around that age with Nazi paraphernalia? Shout out to our good brother Torian Rain. He did a video not too long ago about there was some type of dude who had a U-Haul truck, tried to run it into the White House. When they caught him, they found a bunch of Nazi paraphernalia. When they caught, remember Charlottesville, okay, the attack on Charlottesville, it was a bunch of Nazi paraphernalia. Now, when they put up this Nazi paraphernalia, a lot of people think that, okay, well, this Nazi paraphernalia, of course, this is a big sign of anti-Semitism. So they're attacking a very religious community. And they do have a disdain and hatred for that religious community, which is wrong. Nobody's justifying that. But oftentimes when you see young people with a lot of these swastikas and stuff like that, you see more often they target Black people. When people talk about the Nazis, people don't really talk about the anti-Black racism within the Nazis. They talk about the anti-small hat religious community hate within the Nazis. But oftentimes when you see all of these Nazi paraphernalias, and they use the swastika because that's just an easy thing to draw to show their ideology of supremacy, of their race hierarchy, that the swastika is to them just a symbol of race hierarchy. They don't necessarily, which race hierarchy is a direct attack against Black people. It is attack against Black people, not anybody else. Everybody else gets attacked through maybe crosshairs in proxy. Even the small hat community, they're not the main targets. These people, Dylan Roof, these people, what's his name? Ryan Palmetto, what's his other name? Peyton Gendron, all of these people with a whole bunch of this Nazi stuff, the Charlottesville, that stuff. Notice what community they were attacking, despite having swastikas and all that. They were attacking Black people. So the swastika is just a sign of their ideology. It doesn't indicate who the media is going to make you think they're trying to attack. All right. Now we got the video back up. So let me fast forward a little bit.
16 years old. The imagery that was on his gun, as well as the manifesto, that this will be investigated as a targeted hate crime.
Yeah, and the suspect does appear to have targeted his victims because of their race. And you told our team that this reminded you of an investigation that you were a part of. Can you speak to that?
Now I'm going to fast forward a little bit past.
Sure. My actually very last was the case in this particular case as well. The amount of Nazi paraphernalia that was all over his room, covering the walls, covering the ceiling, covering the doors, was very, very shocking to me. And it was very surprising that someone living under a seemingly normal roof was engaging in this kind of behavior.
In your view, in this case, were there enough warning signs that someone, either law enforcement or his family members, should have expected him to potentially turn violent?
That's a hard thing to say because as a parent, I don't want to just completely blame parents. But at the same time, when I had gone into that home, it was very hard for me to believe that this mom didn't know that her son was clearly engaging in this kind of behavior. She felt that it was just a phase when I asked her. So we have to be careful. One of the things.
Well, did you guys catch that? She said, yeah, I don't want to blame the parents, but I'm going to be real with you. It's hard to believe that his parents didn't know. She thought it was a phase when I asked her. Let me play that back for you guys. She said, I thought it was, she said it was a phase.
It was just a phase. That this mom didn't know that her son was clearly engaging in this kind of behavior. She felt that
clearly engaging in what kind of behavior? What kind of behavior? Now, this is what the FBI is saying. Oh yeah, the mom, he's engaging in some type of behavior that the parents should have known about. All right. Now, the sheriff, in another report, the sheriff said that the son asked to bring the guns in the home and the parents told him no. So the parents knew that this little terrorist sleeper cell was being bred in their home and they're acting like they're clueless about it. Now, watch this. This is the part I feel is the most significant in this whole interview.
It was just a phase.
She said it was just a phase. That means that the mom and probably the dad too, because I don't know if she talked to the dad, but they saw red flags in him and they said, oh, we're going to ignore that. It's just a phase. Despite the fact that they put him and his violent ass racist brother, okay, who they had to call the cops on, him and his brother, they had to call the cops on both of them in 2016. And then his brother got arrested for armed robbery the very next year in 2017. In the same year, 2017, they had to put Ryan on the Baker Act to put him, hey, they said this man is like crazy. This man is insane. This little kid is crazy and insane. He cannot control himself in 2017. So they put him on the Baker Act for 72 hours. But they're saying still there were signs. Okay, just keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Now, we're going to get right here. Now we're going to finish playing because we're connecting the dots that they're not going to connect these dots. That's the part I wanted you to see with that. Now let me pull up. It wasn't that one. It was this one. Let me pull this one up and I'm going to fast forward a little bit prior to questioning.
It looks to me that he went there to the available avenue of accountability has been exhausted. Now I'll be happy to answer any questions after we view this video.
Okay, then they're gonna just show the video. We've seen it.
Worked at that store.
Sheriff, we're hearing reports from witnesses that the gunman let two white women out of the store without harming them before he opened fire. Have you been able to confirm anything like that?
He let, from what I'm understanding from our lieutenant here, he let several people out of the store. Why, I don't know. Some of them were white, but I do believe there was a couple that were not.
So the sheriff is saying now that this deranged anti-black racist, this ABS, he went to the store for the sole purpose of ending the lives of black people, but he let other black people escape. But earlier in the report that we read, he said that he literally chased black people. Black people were running for their lives and he was firing at them as they were running. So he let the white people go. Similar, remember the same way Peyton Gendron did. Peyton Gendron, when he went into that store in Buffalo, and I keep bringing this up because those two things are not a coincidence. The same way Peyton Gendron went into that store in Buffalo and he started firing on black people and he completely let the white people go. Remember, he turned the corner and he was like, oh, it's okay, you're white, or some dude was crying or something like that. And he looked at him and he said, oh, you're white, you're okay. Ryan let him go the same way, almost like there's some puppet master giving these little incels instructions on what to do. When you go to a store, if you see any white people, let them go. Catch as many black bodies as possible. Don't let any of them escape. They're following the same type of pattern here.
No, when you see him walk out on the sidewalk and he points that gun at that car, he fired 11 rounds at that car. He did not give any warning. He just did it.
And when he was inside the store, somebody told me that he said, if you don't want to die, then leave the store.
Those are all statements that we're looking into and trying to confirm and verify.
Sure. Is there going to be any double down police presence in that area or any other areas in Jacksonville to prevent against potential copycat?
We are staying very diligent and vigilant in our community, making sure people, and this is what we talk about. This is why I'm talking about it so much. I want people to be paying attention. I want people to see anything you see that may be strange out there. We don't expect anything like this to happen again. We hope that it never happens again. But we also ask our community to be on the lookout and just be aware of the possibilities. We don't think, again, there's no information that gives us any belief that this is going to happen again. But of course, we're always going to be paying close attention.
You mentioned earlier that this gentleman here initially went to Edward Waters University.
Now they asked him about the college again. Look at how he responds.
From your investigation so far, has there been any indication why he specifically went there first?
It looks to me that he went there to change into whatever he needed to change into. He had an opportunity to do violence in EWU. He did not. There were people very close, in very close proximity. He did not do anything there. He backed out and he left.
Now he's making it seem like he did not target the school when we know for a fact he went to the school and the school was his main target. The only reason he backed out and left was because security was there. And if he would have tried to do something, he would have been stopped. At least he wouldn't have been able to cause as much havoc as if he would have ambushed somebody, which gives me the implication, and this is a theory, that he was told, wherever you go, you have to make sure you have the element of surprise. Nobody can see you coming. If you run into security, leave and go someplace else. I think he had the dollar store as a backup just in case. If not someplace else, to be honest, because there's reports saying, and we're going to get into that clip a little bit right after this, actually.
Difficult is it for you to stand here and process this hate crime that entered your community, very similar, almost a year after that horrific shooting in Buffalo, similar in nature?
I can tell you, it angers me as a sheriff, as a member of this community. No family should ever have to deal with something like this. Anyone who enters into a store and does this to perfectly innocent people, one doing his job, a couple of customers, is baffling to me. It's very difficult for me to watch, and I've seen a lot over 32 years. And I don't ever want to have to see it again, and I don't like it. And we are going to make sure that we work as hard as we can to stop these kind of things from happening again. That's why we are paying very close attention to this. We're doing so much to try to determine what exactly led to this. The manifesto is quite frankly the diary of a madman. He was just completely irrational. But with his irrational thoughts, he knew what he was doing. He was 100% lucid. He knew what he was doing. And again, it's disappointing that anyone would go to these lengths to hurt someone else. No, he didn't have the guns back in 2017. He was only 15 at the time. There was no flag that could have come up to stop him from purchasing those guns. As a matter of fact, it looks as if he purchased those guns completely legally, and all the FFLs did what they were supposed to have done to make sure that there were no issues. So therein lies the difficulty. When a person grabs a hold of a gun with
and we're going to fast
hateful
forward
intent,
a little bit.
they were 100% legal. And so it appears that they did everything that they were supposed to do as a gun off right now. Now, lay it on this counter. In this situation, in this case, there was nothing illegal about him owning the gun, what they look like.
So now he's saying there's nothing illegal about him holding the gun. Now, what I find very interesting, and I'm going to pause it real quick and give a shout out to Sean from the Shy. Hey, how you doing, Auntie? He says, this isn't a wake-up call for the 199 super chat. This isn't a wake-up call. I don't know what is. If this isn't a wake-up call, I don't know what is. This has got to be a wake-up call. All the people who are like, I thought race was behind us. I can't believe this is happening. They need to really wake up. This happened last year. This situations big like this keeps happening all over the place. It's not just in New York. It's not just in Texas. It's not just in Florida. It's everywhere. Everywhere you go, stuff like this happens. So for the people who are like, I can't understand, I can't comprehend that there's so much racism. They need to really wake up. And thank you very much for the super chat. Now I got to show you something else because it all links back to this, right? Pulling this up real quick. This was the news conference from today. Now, of course, he's, is kind of shorter because he gets there a little bit late.
Covered new facts regarding the shooter's movements and whereabouts hours and minutes before he committed his acts of senseless violence at Dollar General. At 11:39 a.m., the shooter was driving in his car in Clay County, headed towards Jacksonville. Investigators have learned that when the shooter arrived in Jacksonville, before he parked at Edward Waters University and outfitted himself with his tactical vest, he stopped at the Family Dollar store located at the intersection of Myrtle Avenue and Kings Road. Not only did the shooter park at the Family Dollar, he also went inside the store and bought some items. Coupled with this new information is surveillance footage showing the shooter's movements both at the Family Dollar and at Edward Waters University. I'll be sharing portions of that video footage with you shortly. First, I'd like to detail the complete timeline of the newly discovered information pertaining to the shooter's movements earlier on Saturday before he committed these atrocities. On 8/26 of 2023, at 11:39 and 04 seconds, the suspect's vehicle was seen exiting Clay County. At 12:23 and 13 seconds, the suspect pulls into the Family Dollar located at 1282 Kings Road. At 12:24 and 15 seconds, the suspect exits his vehicle and enters the Family Dollar. At 12:29 and 54 seconds, the suspect exits the business and returns to his vehicle holding a small shopping bag and enters his vehicle. At 12:31 and 8 seconds, First Coast security vehicle enters the parking lot and parked in front of the business. At 12:31 and 20 seconds, the suspect exits his vehicle as FCS or First Coast security passes him and opens his rear hatch. Meaning when I say his, I mean the suspect. At 12:32 and 35 seconds, the suspect removes what appears to be a small bag from the rear compartment, closes the hatch, and re-enters the driver's seat of his vehicle. At 12:36 and 43 seconds, the suspect opens the driver door but remains inside of his vehicle. At 12:38 and 43 seconds, the suspect stays in his vehicle and closes the door back. At 12:39 and 08 seconds, the suspect backs out and leaves the parking lot. Note, First Coast security is still in the parking lot when the suspect leaves. At 12:40 and 57 seconds, the suspect turns from Myrtle Avenue to eastbound on Kings Road. Now I'm going to show you portions of the video of newly discovered surveillance footage which captured the shooter's movements at the Family Dollar and at Edward Waters University. Also, I'm going to show you previously unreleased footage from inside Dollar General. This footage shows Jacksonville sheriff's officers inside the store after the shooter had begun his rampage. We also believe once those officers got inside is when that suspect decided to kill himself.
Okay, I'm going to fast forward a little bit because he doesn't do anything here, and that's not really the part I want you to see. He goes in. Now, this is him. He pulls up. This is a side view of him pulling up, I guess, to the corner of a school. He sits there for a little bit. You see that I guess there's a time lapse. The car gets out. He gets out. He opens up the back door. He's just casually kind of doing his thing. Now, the other angle is the more interesting angle. They finally turned whatever was making that screeching sound off. And this is him. This is the car, right? And he's literally putting on his vest right now. He took his little jacket, his shirt off, and he puts on the thing. Now, what's interesting about this is the time is a little bit off. The time is a tad bit off. If you listen, look at the time real quick. This time says Saturday at 12:51. Okay, this is him Saturday at 12:51. This car comes there. So he's getting his thing. The officer pulls up at 12:51. This is before 12:52. Okay. And then you can see here, it's like this huge jump. There's like, just look at the time. Look at this time, because this goes by like military time, right? It's 12:51 right here. And he's doing his thing. The officer backs up. And then mysteriously, this car is now over here. And the officers are just getting out of their car. And he's starting to pull off. And notice, because this means 1 o'clock in military time. This now means 1 o'clock is like 1:18. It's about to be 1:20. They pulled up at 12:50. So that means for 30 minutes, there's a big gap in time. This video damn near cuts out a whole 30 minutes of time. Whatever happened for a whole 30 minutes, we damn near don't know. Then he starts pulling out. Okay, now mind you, what's interesting, remember how, and I'm going to show you back in the article, remember they said that that's when he started texting his dad. They said he sent his dad the text at 1:18. Now in military time, and I know because that's the time UPS. I remember y'all. If y'all have been subscribed to me for a while, y'all know I used to work for UPS. UPS uses this time, or at least the one I was working with. They use this time. Okay, so 1300, which is an hour past 12. This is 1:18. But according to the sheriff, they said that he texted his dad to go in his room at 1:18, and at 1:18 he was already at the store shooting. That's what they said. And as you can see, he kind of drives off at 1:18. You're looking at the time right there, the same date. The officer walks back to his car, gets back in, and follows him. It's about 1:20. Yeah, 1:20. We don't know what happened after that. So, okay, then you have the SWAT coming in, and you're seeing with the surveillance camera and all that this is going on. Now, we don't have any timestamp. There's no timestamp here to show you what's going on. But just notice kind of like that's a big, I'm going to show it one more time. He gets out, he's getting ready. This is probably when, if you guys have seen the video, the TikTok video, this is probably them in the car looking at him and recording him. All right. The cop pulls up, and the cop didn't just pull up just to just casually be there. The cop pulls up, and they clearly were looking for him. Pulls up, pulls back, didn't get out, start firing or anything. And then there's just this weird 152 or 1252, my bad. And then 118. 118. That's almost 30 minutes. And he's just now pulling out. And this throws the whole story off because they said that at essentially 1 o'clock, he was there shooting at people. And that when he was done, he texts his dad at 1:18. But according to this surveillance camera, he was still at the school at 1:13. And they followed him. And they followed him where? Where did he go? These times are not adding up. Yeah, somebody's like, yeah, the cops could have stopped him. The cops were there just sitting in their car for like 30 minutes. I don't know what the cops were doing. They clearly didn't call for backup or anything. This person caught the footage of him getting his vest and everything on. So they knew what he was on. Now we're going to fast forward and we're going to see what he talks about a little bit.
To get these horrific crimes so that we can better understand both what happened. Likewise, I will continue to update the public on any developments in this investigation. While this is a dark time in Jacksonville's history, these senseless acts of violence do not define this great city or the people that live here. This person was not from Jacksonville. In the shadow time, I am heartened by the unity, resilience, and resolve that our community has shown. I want to thank not only the people of Jacksonville, but people across the nation for outpouring of the love that you have shown our city and the strong support in our city while they hurt. Thank you for supporting the deceased victims and the loved ones. Hate has no place in Jacksonville, and I've said that several times, and I'll continue to say that. And based on the outpouring of support I've seen in the face of this tragedy, and I know that we are more connected than we are divided. Now I'll take any questions that you have.
Does it appear that he was going to take action at the Dollar Tree and the security guard there impeded that, or was he just stopping the shop?
When I'm looking at it, it doesn't appear to me that he wanted to face anyone that may cause him any issues. So it looks like he wanted to take action at the Family Dollar. That's what it looks like. And he did not, because I think he got impatient and got tired of waiting.
So what did he buy there, or was it just a way to cover?
It's hard to tell. We don't know what he bought yet. The detectives are still going through all that stuff. This, like I said, this is unfolding. You know, they're unfolding all this information as the investigation continues to go on. We're going to keep looking.
On the Dollar General, has that been turned back over to the business? Is it still actively a JSO scene at this point?
You guys know that? I'll get the answer for you, Scott.
Okay.
I'll get that for you.
And Sheriff, it appears obvious that he had already gotten back into his Honda by the time security showed up, so they didn't see tactical vest, etc.
They did not. It doesn't appear they did. And I can tell you what helps me in this situation is that I don't believe, looking at that EWU was a target. You can see a vehicle when you first start watching that vehicle. You can see a red vehicle sitting next to his vehicle. Two young African-American, looks like males, got in that vehicle as he was sitting there. So it gives me some comfort knowing or believing that based off what we saw, him stopping at the Family Dollar, him working at a Dollar Tree previously, and then him going to Dollar General, that was his intent the entire time.
That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Based off the videos, what he got out his car, it looked like he was there to go to and target the school. That's what it looked like. He was there to target the school. You guys don't know what he was at Family Dollar for. Yeah, so you don't know what. So let's scratch that. But he was at the school. You're saying the police didn't see the vest, but the people saw the vest, and the people told the police about the vest. So it doesn't make sense. And why is it that this cop keeps on trying to ignore the fact that the school was a target at all? Every single time he has a press conference, he keeps making it seem like, oh, he was not going for the school. He was not going for the school. It ain't got nothing to do with the school. Nothing to do with the school. Why does he keep doing that? It makes no sense for him to stop at the school if his actual target was which makes no sense either. For you to, instead of going to a HBCU, you pull up at the dollar store a couple minutes away, but you stopped at the HBCU to get armed and then you drove there. But the cops didn't deter you at all. So the police presence did not deter you from the HBCU because that was never your real target in the first place. Your real target was the dollar store. That was his real big target. He just stopped at the HBCU to put his vest on. And had the police been there or not been there, he wouldn't have done anything. That doesn't make any sense. And I find it very suspicious that the cop keeps trying to ignore the school. The cop keeps trying to do that. Now, I'm going to play the rest and I'm going to tell you why I think the cop is doing that.
Why? Sorry. Yeah. Why that store? Still hard to tell. That scene has been released, Scott.
Any word on, it has been released. Any
Yes,
word on the manifesto? Is that something that would be released or not?
Yeah, it's going to take some time. So our FBI partners are going to.
After this, I'm going to give you my theory, but pay attention to what he says about the manifesto. Mind you, it's been 2 days. The media has it, the FBI has it, and the family has it. The public has not seen at all what the manifesto looks like remotely. Okay? Now, listen to what he says about the manifesto.
Do that with a fine-tooth comb, as we are. We want to make sure that there's no other actors. We don't think that there are, but also chase the intelligence to make sure that there's nothing out there rising up from this. We don't think so, but my pledge to this community is to be as transparent as possible. So as soon as we get to a point where we can release that, we'll do it. May take a week, may take 2 weeks. It's going to take a little while, but we plan to do that.
Pretty quickly on Saturday, you had said you felt that he appeared to have acted alone. Was the evidence? Is there a pretty preponderance of evidence that this was a kind of a lone wolf type thing?
Yeah. So there, in his writings, he indicated that he was by himself. He didn't.
Now, pay very close attention to his words. He said in his writings, he indicated he was by himself. Then his very following statement, pay attention to it.
Scott, I'll tell you, he didn't like anyone. I mean,
what do you mean?
He didn't like, you'll read, you read and you see things like, he may say that someone he was all right with, and then later on he'll say something disparaging about that group of people. He didn't like government. He didn't like left or right, if that's what we're talking about. He didn't like anything. So I'm sorry.
Have you spoken?
So he says he acted alone because in his writings, he didn't like anyone. Which is weird that he didn't like anybody in his manifesto, because he didn't have slurs for everybody on his manifestos, on his rifle. He had slurs for black people on his rifle. He targeted black people on his rifle. This officer is making it seem like this was just some crazy man who just didn't like anybody. He didn't like anybody, but he let the white people go. He let the white people live. He let them escape while he was hunting black people. He deliberately went to hunt black people and he let the white people go. And let me ask you guys a question. Does quote unquote not liking somebody, does that mean that you're not working with people? Because in his writings, he said he liked somebody and then he would say something disparaging about that person or that group of people. So that might mean he didn't. So that implies that he completely orchestrated this entire thing by himself. That's kind of a big reach right there. Just because you don't have to like somebody to work with them. You don't have to like somebody to pull this off. The officer seems like he's just kind of babbling. Yeah, he didn't like left or right or blue or green, but he was a registered Republican. He was he didn't like government. He was a voter. He was an active voter though. And he might not have liked government. I don't know. But it's like, I don't know. That y'all very kind of hush about the manifesto. He made a 20-page manifesto, and he liked people and then he didn't like people. Okay, let's say he has some mental issues, but just him not like, I don't like anybody. That means he worked alone. If he worked alone, who did he send those pictures to? The pictures of the rifles that he took before he went out to commit his act. Who did he send those to? Somebody had to know about it.
With his parents?
The detectives have, the investigators have spoken with his parents. I have not.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Now we're going to get into a little bit of theorizing. We're going to get into a little bit of, we're going to attempt to connect the dots in this situation. They originally said, the sheriff said originally, and this was his third time saying it, okay? He told all reports prior to the footage of the actual campus coming out, okay? He said he pulled up at the HBCU just to put his vest on to go to the dollar store, which threw everybody off. Nobody believed that. He did that to go to the dollar store. Okay, that's what he's saying. I'm just going to repeat what he says. It was around 7. It was 12:57 when he pulled up and then left. The officer never ever states, and I just showed you what the school stated. If you guys are just coming in, the school had made this statement saying that he came in and he was trying to enter the building, but he wasn't allowed to and was forced to leave. Okay, so that's what the school is saying. The officer doesn't even barely mentions the university at all. And every time he does, he kind of just like belittles it and brushes. Oh, yeah, he did. I guess. Yeah, I guess he did. Okay. It's interesting. It's weird. So he comes to the university, he gets his vest on, and he goes to the dollar store. Now, in his original press conference, he does not mention his original or second press conference. He does not mention the fact that the campus police flagged them down. It was the third one where he mentioned, the campus police flagged us down and told us about him. They followed him until they flagged the sheriff down and told the sheriff about him. So, okay, that's interesting. And then he was in the store. He was, firing on everybody. And then the SWAT went in and he shot himself. Okay. That's what they're saying happened. Here's what we know and what kind of makes sense. He came to the school. Okay. He left a lot later based on, and I'm just not suspecting this, based off the camera. He left the school property much later than what all of the other reports are saying. And we saw the timestamp. Okay, we're not making that up. We saw the timestamp. Left a lot later. The cop followed him out. Nobody knows what happened at that point. He walks in. There is no police presence whatsoever. Okay, he gets to do his thing for however long it took him. And then SWAT goes in there. So it could be, and this is, we don't know yet, that he doesn't want to mention the school at all. The reason why he's being so hush-hush about the school is because him mentioning the truth about why he was at the school, how long he was at the school, the fact that the police told him, or the security of the school told the sheriff about him, despite the fact that they know that, it kind of messes up the chronological time order that the sheriff is trying to tell. That one single video just kind of throws a wrench in the whole timeline that the sheriff told. So according to the sheriff, they responded relatively quickly. I'm gonna get to your super chat. I saw it, brother. They responded relatively quickly, but based off the video, it took them over 30 minutes to respond. Based off the video, nothing really adds up, which leads us to believe, we know for a fact he gave his manifesto to law enforcement. We know the FBI knew about him. We know his parents knew about him. Okay. And we know that the media knew about him. So it could be that he has some tie in law enforcement or whatever, and he was being assisted in law enforcement somehow. There's a dot that they're not connecting, that all we got to do is see, like, no, that don't kind of link up. That doesn't add up. What he went to the school, clearly he targeted the school. Why are you ignoring the school? Because the police told you about the school, but you don't want to, the security, I mean, you don't want to admit that the security told you. Why is the sheriff, let's really think about it. Why is the sheriff not wanting to admit that the security told them about Ryan? Why? Is it because, is it because Ryan might have ties with law enforcement, and law enforcement knew about Ryan and knew about what Ryan was going to do? Law enforcement allowed that to happen, and he's trying to make it seem, and law enforcement did not respond on purpose, and he's trying to make it seem like law enforcement responded immediately when they did not. Law enforcement took forever to get there. Is it could it be that? Because to be honest, the time kind of matches up for that a lot better. It fits a lot better with that. Why did it take so long if you were only just one step away? He keeps ignoring the school because the school messes up his whole story. He kept ignoring the school because he did not want to pull up the school's camera, because the school's camera has a timestamp to it. The school's camera's timestamp throws his whole story off. That's why he kept trying to belittle the school in the first place. That's why he kept trying to make it seem like, I mean, he pulled up at the school, but he left immediately. The school had nothing to do with anything. And then there's a big gap. There's a 30-minute gap between him pulling up. He was getting in. He was getting his vest on. He was getting his gun or whatever. And it's a transition. The cars are in different places. And then he just pulls off and leaves. And we don't, and there's no other time trail after he leaves. That's it. This is the officer is not being transparent. What is in the manifesto? It's seeming like the manifesto implies that there were other people involved. Everybody's acting like this was some lone wolf, this innocent little church boy who nobody knew anything about. But we see his brother. We see what his brother was posting online. We don't see what he was posting online, but we see what his brother was posting online. We see his brother is a criminal who was arrested for armed robbery. We see that his parents, we know for a fact his parents put him on the Baker Act in 2017. We know for a fact, based off of what the sheriff was saying, we know for a fact he tried to bring his guns in after buying them legally, and his parents told him no. The FBI went in and said, we don't know how you guys didn't know your son was like this. Son was like, what? What did the FBI see that we're not seeing? Are there swastikas all over the place? Are there signs all over the place? Why did the mom say she thought it was just a phase? It's 2023, 2017. That's 6 years ago. 6 years ago. That's a long phase for something to be 6 years is a long phase, unless something else happened. So the parents know something. So stuff is just not adding up. I'm trying to say, I'm going to be honest. And it's important for me to make sure that the information that I give you guys is accurate. So I'm going to say, as of right now, myself, I do not 100% for a fact know about it. I don't know. I don't know what happened in that time gap. I don't know where he went. I don't know this. Everything I'm saying could be incorrect. I'm just connecting the dots as I see them. So I can't confirm anything. The only thing that I can confirm, and I have confirmed to you guys, is that the sheriff's story and the story that they told CNN and the story that they told the media does not add up to the timestamp of what we saw at the school. Those two things don't add up, and we prove that they don't add up. That is the only thing that I am confirming. Everything else is just kind of me filling everything else in with pattern recognition, because we saw this with Peyton Gendron. Remember, the similarities. We saw it with Peyton Gendron, how Peyton Gendron had some type of tie in law enforcement that allowed him and helped him commit this act. But it seems like the Jacksonville Police Department does not want to admit that. Because remember with Peyton Gendron, remember, it was when we saw the manifesto and started reading through the manifesto, we was like, hey, there's no way in the world an 18-year-old could have came up with this manifesto by himself. This manifesto alone is essentially proof that he was being assisted. So after that, the cat was kind of out of the bag, because immediately they all like, he was by himself. Everything else is like, he was all the way by himself. That's what they were saying. Then we saw the manifesto. We all like, we're not buying it. He wasn't by himself. And then it was like, oh, well, I guess he wasn't by himself. Oh, how do we know? So this time, they're all like, don't let nobody see the manifesto, because the manifesto might implicate that he was not by himself. And then look at the sheriff's reaction. He was all like, do you guys have any proof? Remember, in the very, very first thing, he said, he acted alone. He acted alone. There's no proof at all. He acted alone. Now, this like 2 days later, and he was like, okay, do you have proof that he was acting alone? Well, he really didn't like nobody. I mean, he liked him and he didn't like him. So what does that mean? I mean, this man is a terrorist, so he probably had like some crazy relationship with everybody, but does that mean he acted alone? He doesn't have to like everybody, but does that mean he acted alone? And the sheriff who's seen the manifesto is kind of like, with him acting alone, because what they don't want to do is they don't want to say, oh yeah, the manifesto completely proves that he acted alone, and then the manifesto leaks out to the public, and then the public sees the manifesto, and then the manifesto shows he was not acting alone, and now the sheriff looks like, okay, you're lying, which implicates the police department, because why are you lying about him acting alone? So that's why when they asked the sheriff, is there proof by the manifesto that he was acting alone? Well, what we do know is that he didn't like anybody. So I guess, right? I mean, if you don't like anybody, you act alone, right? Right? So a lot of this stuff is really not clicking. So this is why I decided to look up all of these little facts and connect the dots. Connect the dots where I see them, because that stuff does not make sense. Let me get, because I don't want you all to feel ignored, let me get to the super chats real fast. We have Panther Strike for the $15 super chat. He says, oh, and thank you very much, Panther Strike. Appreciate you. Says, FBA family, self-preservation is not a crime. All caps, not. Absolutely, it's not. It's not a crime. Arm yourselves. Go out in groups. Keep your head on a swivel. Anyone telling you that owning a gun for self-protection, anyone telling you that owning a gun for self-protection slap the holy out of them. Yeah. I think he meant not to. Anyone telling you not to. Yes, of course. You guys got to stay prepared all the time, because you could just be walking in the store and some some ABS just comes rolling in, trying to commit some mission. Albert, thank you very much, Albert Choice, for the $35 super chat. He says, subscribe to you yesterday. Thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. Discover you on the recent Otha Wallace stream. Shout out to Otha Wallace, and thank you very much for watching that. Your support was greatly appreciated. And have been on a binge of your content. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Keep it up, my brother. You're doing great work. Thank you very much, Albert. I appreciate you. I appreciate you watching. I appreciate your super chat and your subscription. Thank you. So, stuff's not adding up. It's not adding up. We can't confirm it. All we know is that the truth would all line up. The truth isn't going to go all over the place. If he was telling the truth from the beginning, the timestamp, because he was very specific about the timestamp, remember? He was very specific when he left the house, when he got there, when he got here, when the first shot went off, when the second shot went off. He was very specific. And then that one video just threw everything off. So what's going on? What is going on? What is going on? Who is the sheriff covering for? What is really going on? We don't know, but we do know we need to be safe. And we do know that they're not telling the truth. Whatever that is, we know they're not telling the truth. Now, before we get out of here, I want to say, because we've been on here for a long time, but we had to. We had to take our time breaking this down. We really had to. Before we go, hold on. I want to show you something. Okay. This is Ron DeSantis, because he was out there. And let's be honest, a lot of Ron DeSantis' rhetoric, the anti-woke, the stop woke, the war on woke, which is really a war on black people. A lot of that is the reason. Because these incels, they take heed with that. And DeSantis, remember, they just signed that law saying pretty much you don't have to have a license to carry. Concealed carry. It's an open gun state. So what he's doing is, man, there's a war on woke. Dude, slavery was beneficial, and they're trying to get reparations. They're trying to take your money, and they're trying to make everything black, and they're going to erase you. Oh my God, what are we going to do? It's a war on woke. They're trying to take away your whiteness. I don't know, but there's guns right over here, I don't know, but it's just a war on woke, and they're attacking white people. It's so terrible. Oh, man, it's so many AK-47s right across the room. I just don't know what we're going to do about this black problem that we have here. That's what DeSantis has been doing this whole time. He's been doing that this whole time, and people have made that connection. So when DeSantis came out with I guess this is like a press conference, and this is how the people are responding to him.
Well, thank you for doing this. I want to just say to the councilwoman, I got you. Don't worry about it. We've already been looking to identify funds to be able to help, one, make sure there's adequate security for Edward Waters College. We are not going to allow these institutions to be targeted by people.
DeSantis couldn't even get a word out. DeSantis was being booed. Oh, DeSantis, if he thinks he's ever going to become president, he is out of his rabbit ass mind. DeSantis he's literally lost what little mind you could think he would have if he thinks that after this and after the public seeing the result of his anti-woke, which is really anti-black racism. Anti-woke is anti-black. That's what it means. Okay. If he thinks there's a snowball chance in hell that he is ever going to become the president of the United States of America, his brain is melted in his skull. He can barely get a word out. He better be glad security is there. Otherwise, he might have been, somebody might have said something a little bit closer to him. That's all I'm going to say.
Adequate security for Redwood Waters College. We are not going to allow these institutions to be targeted by people.
Okay, listen, y'all. Let me tell you, we finna put parties aside, cause it ain't about parties today. A bullet don't know a party, so don't get.
Here she go, kind of Samboing and cooning. A bullet don't know a party. Okay, but let's just be honest, ma'am. It was certain rhetoric that fueled this stuff. This is why we are very, very cognizant of all of these little anti-black jokes, because none of that stuff stays as jokes. This is why we're cognizant of that. This is why when we see stuff like Fresh and Fit putting on a Klan mask and all that stuff, this is why we take that stuff very, very serious. Okay? Because y'all out there trying to explain, all right? This is not about, people aren't booing DeSantis because he's a Republican. People are booing DeSantis because DeSantis fanned the flames, which led to this catastrophe. This is partly to blame on DeSantis.
Bullet don't know a party, so don't get me started. Okay, Jacoby is nice, but Ann is not. Now, if the governor wanted to come here and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking the gifts, because we've been through.
Don't that sound like a coon? That sounds like some butter biscuits right there, yo. If you bringing gifts, I don't care what it is. I don't care who it is. It could be Satan himself. If he bringing gifts, I'm taking the gifts. What? Yeah, if he bringing gifts, ma'am. 3 innocent, I believe the report went up now. I believe it's 4 now. Somebody might have passed away from their injuries. Innocent people were gunned down. And you talking about, man, if he want to come here and he's not coming in and talking about healing. Notice she's speaking the truth. If he want to come here and bring gifts, I'm taking the gifts. Oh, hold on.
I want to just say to the councilwoman,
and he bringing gifts to my community, y'all know I'm taking the gifts, because we've been through enough already, and I don't want to go through no more. Now, y'all just be quiet just a minute and let the governor say what he gonna say, and we gonna get this party started. You hear me?
Oh, get a party started. This is the shield, pathetic, despicable scum that are supposed to be representing black folk in political office. Everything is a damn party. I'm gonna be honest. This couldn't be my family. I couldn't be out there. Y'all talking about be quiet, let the governor who fanned the fuels, who motivated, whose actions, whose policies, his policies allowing this stuff to happen led to this incident, led to this catastrophe happening. Okay. And you're talking about let him speak because he got gifts and we're going to party afterwards. So she's not thinking about the community. She's not thinking about the damage that DeSantis has done to the community. She's thinking about herself, and she's thinking about having fun.
Okay, let's do it.
I got something else I want to another thing I gotta pull up real quick, because they got their Sambos out now. Look at this, y'all. Sheila Jackson Lee
This is not America. This is not America when hatred is so intense, so evil, that 3 human beings were shot down because of their race. I want us to be a nation that...
To be honest, this is America. When has America ever not been that way? What part of America, stemming from 1776, where black people were literally not considered human beings, what part of America is not that way? There is not a single era in American history that has not been that way. There is not a single place in America. Okay, I'm talking about from New York with Peyton Gendron, from you see Florida with this guy. What was the other guy? I think his name was the shooter in Texas, who was the 18-year-old in Texas. We got racism all over the place in every single city you go to. Okay, what was it? All over the damn place. So this is not America. What?
Everyone's difference, race, creed, color, religion is respected and honored, because
the whole race, creed, color, religion. This is not about race, creed, color, and religion. This is about anti-blackness. They're all lives mattering in this situation. Well, everybody just got to get along, and everybody, we all get because race, creed, color, and all that stuff. You see, he put a swastika on the gun and then went after black people. So come on, man?
Respected and honored.
This is why people don't respect black people in political office. This is why.
Because each has contributed to the greatness of America. 3 African Americans shot down because someone hated them so much. I mourn for their families and the community. I really want us to come together. I honored a 94-year-old today. I imagine what his life was like, but he was happy because he was able to serve his city. And then, of course, we have to...
What are you talking about?
Realize that today we were commemorating the 60th anniversary of the March on Washington, when the dreamer, the man of peace, tried to bring America together. Let's come together.
And they killed him. Dr. King was talking about let's bring everybody together, and they had him assassinated. So what are you talking about? Did people not forget Dr. King did not die of natural causes?
Together, let's have it be for justice. Let's our fight not be against each other, but let our fight be for justice.
Against each other. There's only one group of people that's against the other group of people. This isn't let's all just get along. Let's all just sit down and have a conversation. You can't there's only one aggressor. There's only ever been one aggressor. It's not like this is no feud and no beef, no tribe beef, and is black and whites going at each other. It's only one group of people aggressing, attacking, assassinating, lynching another group of people.
Quality, and yes, respect and dignity for every human life.
This is pathetic. But that is the political representation. And you see why we saying, hey, as far as the voting process goes, y'all don't want to give us no reparations. Y'all don't want to give us no tangibles. I'm cool. Because we see y'all sitting up there getting on this, let's all get along. Y'all should be the ones who are the most mad. Y'all should be the ones who are talking about things need to change. Y'all trying to calm the public down. Y'all should be the ones trying to say, let's use this to push legislation. Because when stuff like this happens to other communities, they say, let's use what happened to other communities to push legislation for those people right there. They always talking about HR 40, right? Let's for the sake of the argument, let's say HR 40 is this great thing that they really want to push. They just can't get it through the filibuster. Let's just say that for the sake of the argument. Why won't they use situations like this to say, look at all of the anti-blackness that's still existing within this country? We use this as the momentum to push HR 40 past Congress. They don't do that with HR 40, with anti-black hate crime. Nothing. None of this is used to push any form of legislation for us, specifically foundational Black Americans, into office. None of it at all. When this happened with Asians weren't sitting up there getting targeted like this. They were not. Okay, especially not by Black people. A lot of that stuff seems staged, but we'll talk about that later. But they used that and instantly pushed that and got some legislation. Instantly pushed that and got some legislation. They use stuff like that when it happens to the LGBT. They use that and push that into legislation. When Peyton Gendron, remember when Peyton Gendron did what he did, they was all like, well, I'm looking through your manifesto, despite the fact that you only targeted niggas, despite that, you had a little bit of anti-Semitism in your manifesto, so we're going to push legislation for this community. Not Black people. We're going to push it for this religious community over here because in your manifesto you said you didn't like them. So we're going to use that as momentum to push legislation for that community over there. But not a single act of anti-Black racism. I'm talking about from Charlottesville. I'm talking about Dylan Roof. I'm talking about Peyton Gendron. Now I'm talking about Ryan Palmetto. None of these and so many more. So many more. George, and I'm not talking about no anti-lynching act because y'all don't force that stuff. George Floyd, Jordan Neely, all of these other things. Y'all don't push, Breonna Taylor, y'all don't use any of that to push forth legislation at all and stand on it. Y'all use that and then y'all say, we're going to take the name. We're just going to take the name and say, haha, see, Emmett Till, right? Emmett Till, guys, come on. You see, Emmett Till. Despite the fact that out of all this stuff happening, you guys didn't do anything at all. Not a single elected official in the Congressional Black Caucus said anything at all to try to get Carolyn Bryan locked up for her acts against Black people. Not just Emmett Till, the entirety of Black society she committed hate crimes against because of what Emmett Till did was really the straw that broke the camel's back that started a lot of that. That was the match that lit the flame. All right. They didn't do nothing with that, but they'll put Emmett Till on a monument. They'll put George Floyd on a piece of paper and say, this is the George Floyd Lynching Act that we're just not going to follow. It's a piece of paper, but it has George Floyd's name on it. So you see, they don't do that with other groups of people. Asians, we're not going to give you a hate crime bill, but we are going to give you this. And you see, Bruce Lee's name is in the bill. You see, this is Jackie Chan. He's in the bill, guys. They don't do that with them, but they do that with us. They think that we're stupid. They think that we're less than human with us. They don't do that with no other group of people. This is why, hey, as far as the political process, that's garbage. That's completely garbage. Okay. Ron DeSantis is over there spewing things, sending signals to sleeper cells. Doesn't want to admit that his anti-woke rhetoric is fueling them and motivating them to go on these damn kamikaze missions. And you have the people on the left who's supposed to be for our side talking about peace and love and turning the other cheek. So to hell with both of them, honestly. To hell with both of them. But I appreciate every single person being here. If I get some type of update on what really happened, because we know what happened was a lie. We know what happened was a big lie. If I get some type of update, I will let you guys know that. I really, really will. I will let you guys know the second I get some type of update of what really is going on, because we don't know. This whole thing was not for me to prove to you what's really going on. This whole thing is to prove that they're lying about what's going on. And I gave you my theory. I told you guys I don't know, but that's my theory. But we do know that they lied. That's all we do know. All right. So we're going to stay up on this story. We're going to stay up on this story. But you guys should be following me on my various social media pages, which is Afro Elite on Instagram and the Afro Elite on Twitter. And the links to both of those are in the description. I got another super chat from Derek. Thank you very much, Derek. I appreciate you. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you very much, brothers and sisters. Oh, and thank you again, brothers and sisters, for the 8K. We have reached 8K. We are so very, very close to 10,000 subscribers. I said the goal was to get it to 10,000 by the end of the year. We're easily going to pass that. We don't even have to worry about easily. We're going to pass that. So we don't even have to worry about that. So thank you very much, brothers and sisters, for all of you guys' support. Guys, remember, okay, we don't have any friends. It's up to us. It's up to me to protect you guys. It's up to you guys to protect me. It's up to you to protect the next black person. It's up to the next black person to protect you. And it's up to you to protect yourself. All right. So we have to make sure that our heads are on the swivel. We have to make sure that we keep our tools necessary to handle certain situations. Okay. We have to make sure that we're looking out for other black people around us. You know what I'm saying? When we see signs like this, if we see some little incel looking white dude in a trench coat walking up in the store, hey, okay, why are you walking in the store in a trench coat in August? Okay, this is a red flag right here. You know what I'm saying? You got to be aware of that. You have to be aware of that. It happens at Walmart. It happens at forgot the name of the store in Buffalo, but it happens in grocery stores in Buffalo. It happens in school campuses, schools all the time. It happens in Kroger. It happens in even the small little dollar stores. Okay, it happens. They just recently had sued the father in here, in not in Chicago, right, a city right north of Chicago. They have recently sued the father of the son who committed a mass shooting on the 4th of July. He was up on the roof sniping people down. Okay, it happens at carnivals. It happens at festivals. Top Market. Thank you. I appreciate you. I forget that. It happens all of the time. Yes, in Highland Park. Exactly. People were saying that's Chicago. It's right close to Chicago. That's not technically Chicago though, but it has its own different mayor and everything. They're trying to sue his father because his father. Then notice the theme. His father passed legislation allowing his son, despite having run-ins with the law, they all do. Notice the pattern. They all have run-ins with the law. Despite having run-ins with the law, his father, who was in, I think, some type of political position, had legislation passed so his son could get a gun. And the second his son got an assault rifle, he went on top of a rooftop and started sniping people. And that's not the first time we've seen that happen. We've seen that happen with I forgot his name, at the carnival in Vegas, at the thing in Vegas. It can happen all the time. So you have to be ready, okay? Yes, exactly. It's north of Chicago. It's like, is it even 30? It's like 30 minutes maybe, if that, to be honest. So you guys, we got to be ready, okay? We have to be ready. But I'm going to keep you guys updated, B1 family. Thank you so very, very much for being here. I appreciate every single last one of you guys. I honestly really, really do. Upstate New York. Okay, yeah. We can't be soft targets. We cannot be soft targets. The reason why he was not able to commit as much of a massacre as, what's his name? Peyton Gendron was because the school, which was his original target, was not a soft enough target. If he went into the school, it would have been dozens of people he would have been able to execute, but he wasn't able to get in the school. So he was only able to get in a small little dollar store and do it to 3 people, which is, of course, that's too many. But The fact that the school said, hey, we're not going to allow you in here. There was another situation a couple years ago with a church. Somebody tried to do it to another black church. They wouldn't let him in. This was after Dylan Roof. So he went to a Kroger and he only shot 2 black people, which is still, of course, too many. But you see the casualties drop down dramatically the second black people have their head on a swivel a little bit. It's not like they're armed to the teeth. But the thing is that all of these people have a pattern of, we need 100% the element of surprise. We cannot have the slightest bit of resistance. If we don't have the element of surprise, we got to go someplace else. So all you have to do is not let them sneak up on you. That's really the only thing you have to do. You can save yourself and you can save the life of every black person around you by you yourself just not letting people sneak up on you. Just saying that, hey, there's a whole group of black people, 12 of them aren't looking, but one of them is, I can't be here. Because that one black person is looking and he's going to warn or she's going to warn everybody else. So I got to leave. So you yourself, by just being aware, not being armed or covered in body armor or whatever, you just looking around and noticing some shit before it pops off, that can save your life and every other black person around you. So we have to understand that. We have to practice that on a daily basis. All right. Brothers and sisters, thank you so very much for being here. I keep, I could be here all night, but I can't afford to do that. I have some other things to do. Thank you very, very much for being here. Thank you very much for 8K. We're on our way to 10K. Brothers and sisters, I appreciate every single last one of you all. All right. You all be safe out there. Be one salute to every single last one of you all. And of course, you all have a good one.